Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of The Bald Brad Show. It is officially Wednesday, March 19th. And man, with Donald Trump in office, along with Elon Musk, there is so much news to cover. It is almost as if you have to pick and choose what you want to talk about. But I'll tell you what, it all has one theme, folks, and that is America first. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, the whole bit over there, the whole gambit, the A-team, baby, the all-star team is putting America first. And it's a big change from what we were dealing with Joey for the last 4 years. And I'll tell you what, I'm still on an election high. I'm still feeling great. You know, they were coming at us about the eggs. Eggs are down 50%. Since Donald Trump's taken office. It's weird how they don't want to talk about the eggs anymore. What happened to the eggs, you guys? What's going on with that? But it's good to see you, Patriots. We're going to jump right into the news today and make sure we get through all of it and maybe some more, give you some breaking news, see what the heck is going on here. But in Dark MAGA podcast last night, we were covering a little bit of it, and we were doing the deep dive. We were actually going through some of the documents last night because Donald Trump released roughly 80,000 pages of the secret JFK assassination files. President Donald Trump has made good on his pledge for transparency, going through with the release of secret documents related to the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Roughly 80,000 pages of previously classified records are being published with no redaction in compliance with an executive order signed by President Donald Trump. President Trump is ushering in a new era of maximum transparency. Today, per his direction, previously redacted JFK assassination files are being released to the public with no redactions. Promises made, promises kept, baby. And you might be wondering, you know, what are some of those looking like, Brad? Was there any like bombshells last night? Well, yeah, there was some pretty big documents that were released and found. And let me get one of those up for you. I thought I had it on my own page, but we'll find that for you in 1 second. We'll all read it together. There was a document that was released right here. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but let me see if I can maybe, there we go. It says here, memorandum. Now I'm going to read this to you. It's a little bit tiny. That's what she said. And I did read your message, Jeff. I got it, baby. I responded in Twitter. It says here, Ramparts of June 1967, Volume 5, Number 12, page 2829 contains the following passages about subjects. Check this out, folks. The day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided. Again, I'm going to read that again. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot dead in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it suicide. J. Garrett Underhill had been an intelligence agent during World War II and was a recognized authority on limited warfare and small arms, a researcher and writer on military affairs. He was on a first-name basis with many of the top brass in the Pentagon. He was also on intimate terms with a number of high-ranking CIA officials. He was one of the agency's unpeople who performed special assignments. At one time, he had been a friend of Samuel Cummings of, I think it's in Taramoco or whatever the hell that is, the arms broker that numbers among its customers the CIA, ironically Klein Sporting Goods of Chicago, and some mail order allegedly was purchased by Oswald. So yeah, a lot of that's what we said yesterday. Suicide. Sure it was. We also have these pages here. Make sure I show you guys the goodies. This is just the stuff that came out, folks, within like the first 15 minutes. All right. People are scouring the internet. It says here, we now have plenty of money. Out new backers of Jews as soon as we or they take care of Kennedy. That's one. CIA has no objection to declassification and or release on information in this document, except whoever that is, brackets, the Israeli intelligence service. So people are seeing them get populated here. You have the Israeli intelligence service coming in. You got Russia via Israel. So, well, obviously you have Cuba in the mix. A lot of documents are coming out and being released. So we'll make sure we release those to you guys via my X page. So if you're not following me on X, this is what my page looks like. Brad, actually, what am I doing? I can just give it to you. What? This is what happens when you're not awake in the morning. Your brain doesn't function properly. I can actually just give you the link to my Twitter page. It's as if like I'm not running the thing here. I don't know what's wrong. I'm still trying to wake up. It's early. You guys know how it rolls here. Let me take a little sip of coffee. I actually haven't even drank any of this yet. That's also the problem. That's why you want to get 1775 coffee. The thing will light your whistle. Light your whistle. Light your candle. Jesus, see what the hell's going on here. All right. Anyways, let's get into it. Maybe reading more news will help a little bit. The big news yesterday was Elon Musk brings back the astronauts that Joey left behind. We have here billionaire and tech titan Elon Musk shared his congratulations to SpaceX and NASA following the rescue of 2 astronauts stranded at the International Space Station for roughly the past 9 months. They were only supposed to be up there for like 48 hours. I made that number up, but you get it. They were supposed to come back quicker. Joey couldn't do it. And who does it? Trump and Elon. Thanks to the excellent work of the SpaceX team working with NASA, the astronauts are now safely home. And so congratulations to the SpaceX, NASA teams on excellent work, Musk said during an exclusive interview with Hannity. Now, we have a clip of what that interview looks like slightly. And here's not necessarily the interview of him talking about bringing the people back home, but it is something that I wanted to show you nonetheless. I was talking about the waste and fraud and kind of what's been going on with Doge, I guess, in the big picture with Tesla and all that stuff.
Oh, the average American makes $66,000 a year. We're close to $40,000 in debt. You said to me in our last interview, we won't have a country unless we fix it now. Can you explain why this is so important that we identify all this waste?
Yes, the government the government waste and fraud is so high that it's causing a $2 trillion annual deficit. So that's $2,000 billion of waste and fraud that's happening. And the cost of our debt has gotten so high that just the interest payments on the debt exceed the entire military budget. And it was just growing out of control. So the country was going bankrupt. It's just, country is no different from a person. If a country overspends and doesn't spend wisely, just like a person, a country will go bankrupt. So the reason I'm here is because I'm very worried about America going bankrupt due to the corruption and waste. And if we don't do something about it, the ship of America is going to sink. And we're all on that ship. And this may be a message to, people out there who have, are wealthy, have a lot of means, or control companies. It's like, just remember, we're all in ship America here. Your company is not going to exist if the ship of America sinks. And we should do everything we possibly can to ensure that America is strong for far into the future.
And for doing that,
he's right. If you don't get it under control, you ain't going to have a country. And you think the Depression was bad. I mean, a lot of people ask me, I would teach you some finance and say, what would it look like if something like that were to take place? And I'm honest with them. I said, I don't know. It's never happened before. And I was also honest. I said, by the way, it's never happened that a country was able to come back from some type of debt like this. Now, I can't remember. I want to say it was in the 70s. Somebody else can look it up. This is me reaching way back in my memory, and we're not talking just like a decade. There was only one country that I can recall that had a massive deficit, nowhere comparable to what we have, but had a big deficit that was able to actually turn it around. And for some ungodly reason, Canada's popping in my mind, but I don't think it was Canada. But I believe there's only one country that's ever able to turn it around. So this is a big moment for us, and this is why it was such a big deal for me to vote in Donald Trump and get Elon in there with Doge to start cutting, because that's what needs to be done. I've always said, if you could take something down to the individual level, you know your argument's going to be pretty strong generally, because it's very linear, very linear. We would all have to do the same exact thing on our end. If we are in debt, which by the way, a lot of Americans are, let's just point out the fact that there's $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. People are in debt. To pay off that debt, you have to trim the fat, or you got to get more income coming in somewhere. It's one or the other, or both at the same time would be ideal. Let me give you an example, folks. When I went to USC and got my master's degree, I was $60,000 in debt with a pretty good interest rate, but I paid that off. So there's two options. I could cut my budget, my personal budget that I do by hand, or I could go get more income somewhere, meaning go get a second job. So what do you think I did? As somebody that doesn't just preach the word, I went out and acted upon it. And I went out and got a second job after my normal job, and I cut my budgets. And if you want to know what I was eating, Dave Ramsey talked about beans and rice. I'm not exaggerating when I say it was ground turkey and rice every day for a year. And I paid that sucker off in 1 year. Maybe, Brad, you're killing it. No, I sacrificed and worked my ass off. I was working till almost midnight every night, refereeing a bunch of hockey games and really working hard to pay off that debt. And it wasn't easy, but you could do it. You just got to work 2 or 3 jobs, and you're basically not spending any money. Let me tell you, for that year, it was rough. I was skinny bone Jones, man. Anywho, that's what we got there, and we got to turn this ship around real quick, or else there ain't going to be any ship left. Furthermore, we got other updates taking place. Zelensky says civilization or civil. Just let me take another swig. Brad's struggling. At least you know it's live. At least you know there's no teleprompter here. Zelensky says civilian infrastructure was hit by Russian drones after Trump-Putin call. Now, before we jump into this, I will always like giving you kind of little tidbits that I read in other places. So I guess, you know how Trump likes to sign executive orders and bring in the press and do all that stuff and kind of make it a little fancy, make it an event. Well, after his phone call with Putin, he did not bring in the press and he stayed behind closed doors. I have no qualms with that. I think he just didn't want to answer any questions regarding the most recent phone call, and probably because, the negotiations are being had and maybe things didn't go his way. I'm not exactly sure here. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky claimed on Tuesday that Russia bombed civilian infrastructure in Ukraine following a phone call between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin that had reportedly resulted in a limited ceasefire agreement. Last week, Ukraine agreed to a 30-day ceasefire, and a phone call between Trump and Putin Tuesday elicited that there would be an energy and infrastructure ceasefire. The two leaders agreed that the movement to peace will begin with an energy and infrastructure ceasefire, as well as a technical negotiations on implementation of a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea, full ceasefire and permanent peace, the White House stated. These negotiations will begin immediately in the Middle East. Right now, in many regions, you can literally hear what Russia truly needs. Zelensky posted Tuesday evening on X, around 40 Shahed drones are in our skies and air defense is active. Unfortunately, there have been hits specifically on civilian infrastructure. A direct hit by a Shahed drone on a hospital and strikes on cities, regions, and attack drones currently in the skies over Kiev and other regions. So I guess this is what that looked like with the bombing a little bit. You're like, Brad, I can't see it. Can you zoom in for me? Absolutely. I'm sorry, Patriots. There you go. That's the best I could do. So is there a ceasefire? Who knows? I mean, look, Putin, I'm not a fan of Putin, not a big fan of Russia, never been there, don't plan on going there. Does it surprise me if he did do it? But at the same time, it doesn't surprise me that Zelensky maybe would do something himself. I don't know. I don't like either, guys. I don't like either side whatsoever. So at least that's an update of what is going on there with Russia and Ukraine. Again, we're just kind of bringing you updates. We also have an exclusive here where the Department of Education spent $100 million funding the arithmetic and reading of kids. Just kidding. No, they spent $100 million funding leftist activist programs. And then the, people with the pigtails and the rainbow colored scrunchies and stuff, they're losing it because the Department of Education is being cut. And you wonder why. Like I said, they don't understand. When you're $36 trillion in debt, you got to cut somewhere. And there's going to be cutting that you don't like because you like that. When you have a budget and you have things in there that are nice, like pizza night, or, hey, we're going to go get ice cream every Saturday. I'm making something up. Well, you got to cut out the stuff you don't need. Do you need pizza? No. Do you need ice cream? No. Does it suck? Yes. You can get by with a lot of stuff without a lot of stuff. You really can. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. But in the end, you're going to be better off for it. And so is your kids if you have them. The Department of Education has given nearly $101 million in grants to training K through 12 social workers in leftist ideology. This comes from an education watchdog, folks. Parents Defending Education unveiled its Grant Ed social work, highlighting how universities taking federal dollars for their social work programs have embedded, quote, social justice into their curriculum. Since 2021, the Department of Education has given at least $100 million in grants to 25 universities for their mental health programs. Parents Defending Education said that the money is going back to programs that promote radical leftist ideology and seek to train leftist activists. On the surface, these programs and these grants were given out to help mitigate mental health issues. In practice, the grant funds went to support programs that explicitly advanced social justice ideologies based in critical race theory that include anti-racism and DEI initiatives. In fact, the vast majority of university social work programs that we reviewed prioritize anti-racism practices and social justice activism. Do you notice a common theme with all this money that's being sent out? It doesn't matter what it is and really what organization it's for. The money that Doge has really highlighted and cut was always going to these bogus ideas where in principle they sound good, but in practice they're completely just corrupt, like we see right here, right? In principle, you would think, hey, social work, making sure people are taken care of for their mental health. I'm all for that, by the way. Mental health is a serious issue. If you have some struggles, seek the help. Nobody wants to see something terrible happen to you or you do to yourself. Take care of yourself. Help somebody. So help yourself by calling somebody so they can help you. I got no qualms with that. The problem is that's in principle. In practice, what the left love to do is take our institutions and almost inject their mind virus into it, where no longer is it an institution that's for the people to help the people, but an institution with this mind virus that has gone usurpacious to spread a narrative that is ultimately false. And when you spread a narrative that's false and you have it seeped in an institution, well, now it doesn't work for anybody, and it just makes matters worse, actually. Furthermore, you have this also taking place with DEI. I think DEI in principle is good. It is. In principle. In practice, you hiring somebody based on their race or ethnicity is not a good thing. And I don't care what race you are. If you hired somebody because they're white, that's not good. If you hired somebody because they're black, that's not good. I don't care what your race is. You hire somebody based on merit. You hire somebody based on their character. How about we go back to what MLK said? But for some reason, there's a specific party that doesn't want to do that. And in practice, DEI excludes the idea of merit for the most part, and it excludes the idea of actually, evaluating somebody on their character, on their traits, what they have going for them, maybe their noggin, what's going on upstairs. That's the problem with a lot of this stuff. The awards were given through the Mental Health Service Professional Demonstration Grant Program or the School-Based Mental Health Services. Check this out. Indiana University School of Social Work received $5.7 million grant from the Department of Education on May 23rd, 2023, to expand their social worker training program and offered classes where they all sat around the circle, right? They got together, they got the duct tape out and started taping their gooch. That's for Dark MAGA, forgive me. That's for Dark MAGA podcast. They sat in a circle, said kumbaya, and talked to one another about their feelings. At the same time, the school offered a class called Diversity, Human Rights, and Social Justice, which focuses on critical race theory and white privilege. If you want to get a little glimpse, I could summarize that class in one sentence. If you are white and you think you're not racist, well, you are still racist. And how you fix the fact that you're racist so that you can become not racist, well, that's not possible. You have to go ahead and mask it and hide it in some way, shape, or form. That racism will always be there. Your job is to make sure you don't elicit that racism coming out. There you go. You don't have to take the class. Just told you what it was. The goal of the class is for students to develop critical consciousness. I literally just said that. In order to gain competencies to address diversity, privilege, and oppression in the social work practice. Again, they phrased it differently. If you're white or you're somebody else, doesn't matter really what it is. If you're black, you can't be racist according to these people. Is that your racism is just unconscious. And so the group sits there, literally, and wants you to have that racism come out in a conscious form, and so that you can recognize it. You can't change it, but once you recognize it, the goal is to make sure you mask it and suppress it so that you don't have a negative influence on others. Awkward. Well, we don't need to break that down anymore, but you're seeing all the money going out and they're all going to social justice programs. And then you wonder why your kid comes out trans out of college. He's different, right? He's wearing a skirt now and a wig and he's shaved off his beard and he has the duct tape galore. Turns out, he has Dylan Mulvaney posters all over his wall, drinking Bud Light. Duct tape. Leave me alone, Danielle. It could be any tape. Double-sided tape, don't matter. Scotch tape, they'll use it all. Don't even worry about it. Stop it. Leave me alone in the chat. You guys are coming at me. Why are you being mean to me? By the way, we got a lot more news to cover. We're not going anywhere, so we still have over 30 minutes left. At the conclusion of today's show, we're going to raid somebody else's show. It was actually fun. We did it with Dark MAGA yesterday. We raided somebody else's show. So that's what we're going to do. Our objective, and it says the whole thing, folks. It says, Bald Brad is raiding this show. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in there and we're going to promote the Bald Brad Show. So that's going to be at the conclusion of today's episode. I need your help. We actually will gain followers from it. And this is how we're going to grow over at Rumble. It's allowed, by the way. It's not like something that's rude. We're giving them our viewers. So all of us are going to go over there. Everybody that's on Rumble. So at the end of today's episode, if you're not on Rumble, I'm going to give you the link over at YouTube so you can go over there. We'll bump up our views at the very end. We're going to raid somebody's channel and we're going to promote the Bald Brad Show and say, you got to check it out. The best show ever. We're here. Woo. Yeah, Karen was there last night. It was fun, right? Karen was in there promoting the show. Now we got to be careful at the same time, right? You don't want to overly do it because then it pisses people off. But we're giving them our viewership, so just be careful. I don't want anybody getting. I don't want any bad blood with other people. We're there to help them, but at the same time promote the show a little bit. All right, some fun stuff here, and it is available. This is something we used to do years ago here on the show that I haven't really done all that much. And I'd almost like to go back to my roots a little bit. And we didn't always talk about just politics. We talked a lot about culture. And I'll give you an example. We talked a lot about what was going on in high school, middle school, and college campuses with social justice, with this DEI stuff, with the transing of the kids. And we went really hard in the paint on that. We got a lot of our viewers from that type of videos. So much so that even James O'Keefe of Project Veritas highlighted our show on Project Veritas in a positive light because we were covering it so much. But even within that, I would cover the entertainment industry as well. And it's just mostly just politics. So I want to get back to my roots here and have a little bit of fun with you guys, where Adam Sandler has a Happy Gilmore 2 trailer that has dropped. I am a Happy Gilmore fan. The price is wrong, bitch. With Bob Barker. If you guys ever see me when I talk about Caroline Levitt and she's going like this, that's where I got this from, is Bob Barker, that shadow boxing from Happy Gilmore. I've seen that movie so many times. So in nearly 30 years since the original movie hit, Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out. We got the trailer together, folks. It just dropped not too long ago. Matter of fact, it only dropped like an hour ago. So let's check this out. If you are watching this on the video that's been uploaded, let's point out that if you don't see it, I had to take the video, this part, and cut it out because we got hit with a copyright. So again, if you don't see the trailer and you're watching this live, that's because we had to remove it. Pretty good. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it in theater. It looks fun. You have the nostalgia feel of it. Movies just aren't like they were when we all grew up. So the movie of the summer easily. Look, I don't know if Jason's joking, but I think it's going to be great. I'm excited for it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm an Adam Sandler. He actually used to be my favorite actor when I was a kid. Adam Sandler used to be my favorite actor as a young lad. I still am young, but you know what I mean. Younger. Well, enough of that fun. We got to go back to more of the university stuff and kind of what's going on with these protests, because they're taking over once again, folks. This stuff is bonkers. If you're enjoying what you're hearing and listening to, hit that like button. We do go live every single morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time weekdays, folks. Would love for you to join us. And don't forget, I know it's new, but we do Dark MAGA Tuesdays and Thursdays evening. Thursday evening, only on Rumble, where we put on the Dark MAGA hat. And we go over just some interesting stuff. It's more intimate. We spend some more time in the chat. And at least check it out once if you can. You got to be a Rumble Premium member to get that. So here we go. Khalil, this is the guy that's a pro-terrorist supporter, allegedly. Well, he urges further protest in fiery letter from prison, accuses Colombia of laying groundwork for arrest. We've covered this person last week. Anti-Israel Columbia University protester Khalil has called himself a political prisoner while urging students to respond with even more protests. My name is Khalil, and I'm a political prisoner, he said in a fiery letter written from his Louisiana immigration detention facility. I don't mean to laugh, but he's a hero. The guy supporting terrorism is a hero. Now, you see all these people, that scarf that is around their neck? Yeah, that's a Hamas thing, folks, while they're waving the Palestinian flag. Just gonna say, why aren't any of these people willing to fly overseas and go to Palestine and maybe pick up some rocks and rubble and clean the place up a little bit? I guarantee you, very small numbers would be willing to do it. Very, very small numbers. I guarantee you. You see that's the Argentina flag? That's not Argentina. That's a Palestinian flag, is it? Am I tripping? Anyways, I guarantee you a lot of these people would not go over to the Gaza Strip to help clean it up, even if you paid for it. Khalil, head of the hardline pro-Palestinian group Columbia University Apartheid Divest, called his arrest a direct consequence of exercising my right to free speech as I advocated for a free Palestine and an end to the genocide in Gaza. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to say something that probably a lot of people don't like, and quite frankly, I don't like really. I like the idea that we're able to do this. He has the right to protest. He does. He has the right to say crazy shit. I know we're not supposed to cuss, but it's the best word I got because it's crazy and it's doo-doo of what he's espousing. But it's no different than a Klan member coming out and saying a bunch of crazy shit. They have a right to say it. I don't like it. I'm not for it. I think it's disgusting. I think it's evil. I think it's wrong. But they have a right to do it. Now, the question is there other forms of speech that he's implementing that will elicit some sort of violence? That is the question, because when you're talking about terrorism and you're in supporter of a group of terrorism, which I think even the Klan should be recognized as a terrorist organization, is that something that's acceptable? And because it could lead to terrorism. And now there's the problem, right? Could lead. You could say that about anything. Well, it could do this. It might do this. So you get into some dicey territory here. So something to give you a little food for thought on. He accused Colombia's leaders of having laid the groundwork for the U.S. government to target me by arbitrarily disciplining pro-Palestinian students and allowing viral doxing campaigns based on racism and disinformation to go unchecked. Well, I was told that you were pro, not just Palestinian, but pro-Hamas is what I'm being told. That's what's being covered on all news sites. So it's a little weird that you want to kind of hide behind the veil of Palestinian and pro-Palestinian, but in the form of pro-Palestinian, you're pro-Hamas. Right, violence is no free speech, but that's the question. And that's the question that's proposing, right? I don't know if it's going to lead to that, because if it does, well, then, that's kind of null and void. So we got to see. Just merely being, looking at both sides, playing devil's advocate. If anything, my detention is a statement, a testament, a promise to the strength of the student movement in shifting public opinion toward Palestinian liberation. In the weeks ahead, students, advocates, and elected officials must unite to defend the right to protest for Palestine. At stake are not just our voices, but our fundamental civil liberties of all. Okay. All right. There's a reason why he came here. There's a reason why he left his country. I don't care what country that was. For anybody that immigrates here, you came here for a reason. You can go over there and fix it real quick. Just fly right over there and fix it. I don't take any of these people seriously that are on these college campuses, because like I said, remember that time we covered that video where that one girl was on there asking for humanitarian aid while she was camping out at Columbia University? And I said, that's bonkers, because the people that are actually in Gaza are experiencing famine and drought. So maybe you should be giving your humanitarian aid to them, since you're on campus in the United States. You can walk fucking 15 minutes in any direction and get food right now and water. There's drinking fountains everywhere. That's how they think, folks. That's how they think. They're off their rockers. They're not with us. They're in some sort of reality. I don't know if it's drugs. I don't know if they were kicked in the head when they were a kid. I don't know what happened. Look, I'm not holier than thou. I'm not better than anybody. I want to be clear about this. I'm not smarter than anybody else. I'm not better than anybody else. I don't play it up to be better than anybody else. I'm not intelligent. I'm just an average Joe American. I want to be clear here, because sometimes it might come across as me thinking I'm better than everybody else. I am not. I want to be clear on that. But what I will say is, when I listen to these Democrats and these progressives and the Green Party psycho advocates of things, it's odd to me, and I want to figure out how their brain got the way it got mushy. Was it drugs? Was it LSD? Are you sniffing paint? What are you doing that stops the circuitry from forming correctly? And I've been trying to figure it out for some time now. I've tried reading their books to understand their thoughts. I read their news articles. We watch their videos and we have to sit through it. I don't get it. By the way, there's some Republicans and conservatives that are the same way. And I think that maybe, was it drugs? Was it like, what the hell's going on here? Like, why is it not working? I've always said I'm able to understand where somebody's argument is going. I just don't think it's good. Other times it's confusing as hell. Well, let's get into a little bit more of foreign affairs here. We got the Panama Canal, folks. And things are getting a little dicey with China, Wuhan, China, Hong Kong threatened to thwart the sale of Panama Canal ports to America's BlackRock. Uh-oh. Something's going on here. A deal, get rid of that. A deal for the U.S. to reclaim the Panama Canal is increasingly under fire from authorities in China and Hong Kong. Uh-oh. Because remember, Trump is having the Department of Defense come up with a military plan to take back the canal. And part of that plan is, if so, utilizing the United States military to just go in and take it. Earlier this month, BlackRock announced a $23 billion deal with C.K. Hutchinson to take ownership of the ports, which are located at the Atlantic and Pacific ends of the canal, respectively. It would also take over Hutchinson's controlling interest in 43 ports in the 23 other countries. However, Hong Kong and Chinese leaders could seek to stand in the way. John Lee, the leader of Hong Kong, stated his concerns about the deal on Tuesday, saying it deserved serious attention. The argument between the two conglomerates was seen as a solution to President Donald Trump's threats to take back the canal after he urged that China was using it to rip off U.S. ships through entry fees. Well, now if we get that back, now we can rip other countries off and start paying down our debt, maybe, if that's possible. Get some money coming in. Trump touted that BlackRock, or the BlackRock deal, as the U.S. reclaiming the port when it was first announced. Now, Beijing has opened up investigations into potential antitrust and national security concerns about the deal through various agencies, including its State Administration of Market Regulation. I find it interesting. Beijing is all concerned now about antitrust violations. Oh, really? BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, which some of the Chinese have their freaking feet in. Let's talk about antitrust a little bit by telling companies to dissolve certain parts of their company, like ExxonMobil, and so that they go under, all in the namesake of clean energy and climate change, ESG scores. Give me a break. I love how these countries try to shove shit in our faces, man. Oh, it's antitrust. Oh, yeah, you care about antitrust? Yeah, let's talk about how you devalue your currency over there in China. You want to talk about that? How about the concentration camps you got going on over there? You want to talk about that too? Yeah, they don't want to have any of those discussions, do they? How about all the military drills of you going and surrounding Taiwan each and every month? You want to talk about that as well? Hey, how about your real estate falling apart? You building these massive skyscrapers, not a fucking soul in sight. But then all of a sudden you're selling it off. How does that work? Hey, how is it that you pumped your economy full of trillions of dollars? Well, not dollars, but you know what I mean. Because you're about to go under and you uplifted it for a short time, and we still don't know the outgrowths and the long-term effects of that, but we'll see. They don't want to have any of those discussions though. But remember, antitrust, you guys come after us. Yeah. The lucrative waterway sees 5% of global maritime trade pass through. CK Hutchinson's stock price fell 3% on Tuesday after Lee's comments, and the company canceled press and investor briefings that were scheduled for this week when it releases its financial report. We oppose the abusive use of coercion and bullying tactics of international economic and trade relations, Lee said, taking a jab at Trump. They're going to lecture us. They're going to lecture us. Hey, there was this guy called Mao in China not too long ago, hasn't even been 100 years, in the 60s, that killed like millions and millions of people. The biggest, you think Hitler was bad. Hitler was bad. I'm not saying Hitler isn't. I'm just saying in a hierarchy of spectrum in terms of the amount of deaths that led by somebody's dictatorship. Yeah, Mao takes the cake, folks. Okay. He was Chinese, China. So that's what's going on over there. So Trump's pissing off the Chinese. I love it. I love it. Good to see you, patrons in the chat. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe as well. We're going through the news and we're going through it hot and quick. That's what she said. Here. All right, folks, we're getting to the part where we got to cover The View. I'm giving you a heads up. Don't you go anywhere. You're not leaving me watching The View by myself. You better not leave, folks. You're staying with me. If I have to watch this, you have to watch it. We're going to do it together. I think you caved. Schumer is getting a slapping by The View, a grilling. Now, we're not going to go too far into this in terms of us reading the article. I more or less want to get to the clips here. So Whoopi demanded that Chuck Schumer explain why he told Senate Democrats to vote for the CR. And again, we got clip after clip here, so buckle up, folks. Now, if you don't see this clip and you're on the recording of it after we're live, that's because ABC hit me with a copyright violation and I had to take it down.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Why?
Great.
What were you thinking and why?
Okay. So, look, I knew it was a difficult choice, and I knew that I'd get a lot of criticism for my choice. But I felt as a leader I had to do it. Here's why. The CR bill was bad, no question. And it allowed a slush fund, which allowed money to be pushed around.
Explain it for the people who don't know what
There's
CR means.
CR means continue the government spending.
Right.
A shutdown, the alternative is cut off the government spending. And here's what would happen if we cut off government spending. It would be devastation like we have never seen.
Worse than we're seeing now?
Much. Here's why. That's why I did it. I wasn't going to take this flack just for having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like what we're seeing now? What devastation? Egg prices are down. Fuel prices are down. What are they talking about? What reality are they living in? It's almost like we're all sitting back and we're watching an alternate universe. Like, I'm stepping into a different timeline by watching The View. It's odd. It's weird. I don't get it. The guy just looks like the Penguin from Batman, man. This is like some Arkham City shit.
The bottom line is a government shutdown works like this. All government spending is stopped, all. And then the executive branch, Trump, Musk, Doge, and this really evil man people don't know about, Vote, who's head of OMB, his name is Vote.
What's
would
OMB?
have
What is
so-
OMB mean?
OMB is the Office of Management Budget, which determines the spending. And they could cut off anything they want simply by saying it's not essential. So, day 2, SNAP, food for poor kids, not essential. Day 4, mass transit, New York City subway and subways all over, not essential. Day 7, Medicaid, not essential. People don't need Medicaid, they should get their own health care. And this would happen over and over and over again, and there's no check. The biggest problem is that it has been determined that the courts have no say. Yeah. And the only say is the executive branch. Now, in the old days, when there was a shutdown, they'd work it out. But this is a different.
Isn't that a check, though? I mean, isn't it the checks and balances that are there? That you have that between the 3 branches of governments? I'm not getting it. Congress wanted to put something through, and then the check is on the executive branch to see if that's something that's acceptable and should be done. I don't know. I'm confused here as what the argument is. Maybe I'm just missing it because it's morning.
Different, horrible kettle of fish. They hate the government. They want to shut down everything. You heard what Musk said, $2 trillion. And so this would have been so devastating. And here's the second part that's maybe just as bad. There's no exit strategy. How do you get out of a shutdown? Guess who determines it? Trump, Musk, Doge. They're the only ones. And one of the Republican senators told one of the Democratic senators, you get in this, we're staying in for 6 months, 9 months, a year till we decimate the entire federal government.
Can I do a follow-up question quickly?
So wait, it was so bad.
Notice he doesn't name anybody. Oh, this guy's saying something that's going to decimate every... Dude, it could have been the fucking janitor. Get out of here, Chuck.
That I felt I had to do this. Now, it's not happening immediately, but what does a leader do? When you're a leader, if you see a real crisis a little bit down the road, your job is to stand up and say, we cannot do that. And that's what I did.
It's a remarkable thing that the guy voted in favor, but he's blaming Donald Trump for it. Like, dude, you voted for it. What are you talking about? What a leader does is what a leader jigabadapa-do. That dude doesn't have a clue. You know, I think I'll let that be the only clip. I had about 4 or 5 other clips to go with The View, but I think you've had enough. I think we can tap out of that a little bit and get into a little bit of breaking news of what's going on right now across the world. So let me see here. Let me pull it up. You had a UN worker, this is breaking right now, 10 minutes ago, a UN worker killed in Israeli airstrike on Gaza facility. So on March 19th in Gaza, an Israeli airstrike resulted in 1 UN worker being killed and 5 others injured, according to the Gaza Ministry of Health, which is terrible. The strike targeted a UN facility, with the injured being transported to this hospital, despite these reports that Israel Defense Forces had denied striking the UN compound, leading to a dispute over the facts of the incident. So here's the problem that I have when I'm getting information out of Gaza. I don't know what to believe. And by the way, I don't know what to believe from either side. I don't want to believe terrorists that manipulate numbers, that are allowing their people to starve. I would also like to point out that Hamas could just give up and this could be over like now. I mean, that's it. But they don't want to do that. Of course they don't want to do that. The people voted for them. So now all this atrocity is taking place. So anything that's coming out of Gaza, I don't really believe. And notice it says genocide in Gaza, which that already, I don't think it's a genocide, but you know, people say otherwise somewhere. Again, I don't have no skin in the game. I don't live over there. I don't plan on ever living over there. I don't want to go over there. That's their ish to solve. That's their ish to handle. They wanted to fight one another. Now they're fighting one another. And then now Americans want to take sides of like who's right and who's wrong. I want Israel and the Palestinians to have peace. Will that ever happen? Not exactly sure. Now, here's the thing. I can't even cover this in terms of showing you the video because guess who's going to go after me? Guess who's going to go after me? YouTube. YouTube's going to go after me. This also released Trump's endorsement of Carney over, I always mispronounce the guy's name, Poilievre for Canada's prime minister. Former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney has recently been endorsed by U.S. President Donald Trump for the position of Canada's prime minister. Trump expressed a preference for dealing with a liberal leader, citing Carney as easier to negotiate with compared to conservative leader Pierre. This endorsement has sparked discussions and varied interpretations across social and political media regarding U.S. influence on Canadian politics. I find it interesting that Trump went this route. This one I actually was not expecting. I thought he would go with Pierre. Pierre seems and I think, honestly, I think Pierre's actually a better choice for the Canadians just in general. Found it a little bit interesting, and I think Trump wants somebody weaker as Canadians prime minister so that he's able to push them around a little bit, which goes into his comment about negotiations. Because Pierre's pretty strong. Pierre's kind of like JD Vance. I think that's a good comparison in terms of type of like personality, strength, sternness, but not as bold as Trump.
Isn't that going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
No, I'd rather deal with a liberal than a
for China closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
The conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So when he says negative things, I couldn't care less. I think it's easier to deal actually with a liberal.
Isn't that going to make them more?
We'll see. I think, isn't there elections coming up this fall? I think it isn't like November or something like that. Their elections are coming up. We will see what happens with all of that. Furthermore, you have one of Alex Jones' anchors being swatted. This is actually turning into a major problem for a lot of conservatives. This is something that I talked about a little bit on TikTok. I talked about it more in the form of what is up with Democrats wanting to burn everything down all the time, from going back to when they were Klan members, burning crosses on people's lawns, mostly black people's. And then 8 years ago, burning down businesses, in some cases of black businesses, and our cities through the form of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. And then now Democrats are going around and torching Teslas and burning down Tesla dealerships. So my question is what's going on with their infatuation of arson? Furthermore, what they're also doing is not just burning down Teslas and dealerships and doing all that stuff, still committing massive crime in their Democrat-ran areas, but now they're also doing swatting on conservatives and Republicans. The latest one to be swatted was Owen Schroyer, a prominent host at InfoWars, was the victim of a swatting incident earlier this morning. Swatting, the act of making a false report to emergency services leading to a SWAT team response, is under FBI investigation for a recent surge targeting conservative figures. Schroyer was confronted by armed police at his residence after a hoax call highlighting the dangerous implications of such pranks. Now, if this is something that is turning into a massive problem and you're not seeing much change in that said problem, then that means the consequences to the problem need to be elevated. When you are cheap, when you are lax on crime, you are going to get more of whatever you're cheap and lax on. We saw this time and time again in the state of California. When you're lax on homelessness, what are you going to get? More homelessness. When you're lax on smash and grabs, what are you going to get? More smash and grabs. When you're lax in the classroom on consequences and you don't hold the kids accountable, what are you going to get? You're going to get more behavioral problems. You're going to get terrible grades. You're going to get chaos. That's what this all leads to. So if somebody wants to SWAT, which could lead to somebody being killed by accident by police when they did nothing wrong, whether that's their wife or children, who the hell knows, things go rogue. When you're put into a scenario that would have been a 0 probability of taking place, now you have a 100% chance taking place. That leads to consequences and outgrowths of somebody potentially being freaking killed because you think it's a prank. Oh, it's so funny. It's not funny for anybody. Nobody should do it to either side. But this is Democrats, folks. This is how they think. And somebody asked the other day, like, well, how do you know they're Democrats? I don't. I'm taking a gamble, but I sure in hell know it's probably not going to be a Republican or conservative. And if it is, then by definition, they're not a Republican or conservative. I've always said that there's people that can masquerade, as a sheep or a wolf in sheep's clothing, but that's just who they are. If they don't carry the value. You can put lipstick on a pig, it's still going to be a pig. You can be a registered Republican, don't mean you are one. Republicans don't commit violent crimes. The nut jobs that I said invaded the January 6th, I'm sorry, anybody in here, if you're one of them, yeah, you shouldn't have done it. You're an idiot. If you decide that you wanted to go storm the Capitol as a freaking adult, you're an idiot. Somebody has to tell it to you. And I like you, but I'm going to be honest with you as well. Like, I do idiotic things too. Doesn't mean I'm out of the idiot, circle, but somebody has to tell you and is going to be honest with you. You were stupid for going inside the Capitol on January 6th. You're an adult. I don't know what the hell you were thinking, but you're an adult. You don't act like that. Secondly, that's what I'm getting at is you're an adult. We don't do those types of things. We don't do smash and grabs. We don't swat people. We don't hire people based on race. We hire them based on merit. We try to follow values that go in line with conservative and Republican values, Judeo-Christian values. And we try to constantly be better so we can advance this country forward. But there's one constant theme here with the Democrat Party not wanting to do it. So I don't give two bleeps if it was somebody that claims to be a Republican and they did something. By definition, in my mind, you can claim to be something all you want, but you don't follow our system and our values. So no, you're not part of the Republican Party, nor are you a conservative if you're doing stupid shit like that. Somebody has to say it, folks. I don't hear any other conservative outlets saying it. I'm going to do it here on the Bald Brad Show. I'm tired of people, oh, well, look at that Republican. They ain't part of my party. Hell no. They're out. I kicked them out. They're done. You don't have that authority. Yes, I do. Just start going back and forth. Oh, I love hanging out with you guys. I'm so grateful for the community we have here. You guys are awesome. So what we're going to do, I'm going to give you guys the link over on YouTube. Everybody in Rumble, hang tight. Everybody over at YouTube, head over to Rumble. What we're going to do is we're going to raid somebody's show over at Rumble. And be careful. Don't be like, I don't want to say don't be annoying, but let's raid Dan Bongino's podcast over there. So what we're going to do, we're going to raid Vince's podcast. Does that make sense? I'm going to hold tight just a couple minutes so everybody has an opportunity. He's going to go live here in a moment. We're going to raid him. So don't go over there yet. I'm going to send you over there. And we're going to promote the Bald Brad Show. Tell everybody to follow Bald Brad. Best conservative podcast in the morning. You got to check it out. All that stuff. So we'll all be in the chat. I'll be in there for a little bit. And we'll do that on Vince's show. So I'm waiting for him to go live. And when I do it, I'm going to send you guys over there. No, thank you guys for helping out and willing to do it. He's going to go live in 30 seconds. Don't go over there. I'm going to send you over there. So if you're over on Rumble on my channel, stay here, hang tight. We're going to go over there together. I will put everybody over there. It's going to send everybody. It's going to be freaking awesome. And what you'll see is in the live chat, it's going to actually say Bald Brad is raiding Vince. Now, what they're supposed to do is highlight our channel saying, hey, Bald Brad, thank you so much for raiding the channel. Look at all the Bald Brad Show viewers. Tim didn't do it last night, which kind of got under my skin, to be honest. That's what you're supposed to do. So let's.
Who's funding the terror attacks on Elon Musk and Tesla? What are the secrets inside of those JFK files? And is QC time over at the FBI? Oh, yes, it is. I've got all the details ahead on Vince. But first, we are in a turbulent time right now. You're seeing daily policy changes having a massive impact.
And then we're going to do it. Thanks, everyone, for saying it was a great show. I appreciate that, folks. A little rocky start, but I appreciate that nonetheless. If you're over at YouTube, again, head over to my channel over at Rumble. We're going to raid him right now. And queue up like, hey, check out Bald Brad, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, weekday mornings, best show on Rumble. Check it out. Follow him, all that stuff. Now, thank you, CC. I appreciate you coming over. I saw you over at YouTube. Also, Q, thank you. Be careful, you know what I mean? Because there's going to be a lot of us. There's going to be 100 of us in there. So, and we're chat people. Not a lot of his viewers are chat people. So, again, let's not annoy the guy, okay?
Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews.
We got to be, he's a patriot. We got to be polite. So there's give and take.
Help you protect your future.
I'm waiting for him to get done with the ad read, so most likely he'll see it.
From the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews. Just text Vince to 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you protect
Vince,
your
get through your
future
reads.
today with gold.
We got Patriots
Message and
coming in
data rate
hot.
supply.
It's like we're parachuting. All right, come on, Vince. Come on.
I want to say, first and foremost, thank you to the Bongino Army for being the most welcoming and awesome army that has ever existed. I have just been absolutely thrilled with all of your great support. Obviously, we started the week with Tucker Carlson. I've got some great interviews coming up for you. Maybe perhaps you've seen by now. Tomorrow on the program, we are going to have the Vice President of the United States joining us for launch week. J.D. Vance is here. Yes, that's right. Donald Trump Jr. are getting together tomorrow. That'll be at 10 o'clock. Don't miss that. A lot of big questions for the Vice President coming up. And fellas, I'm going to wear a jacket and tie. I just want everybody to know it's the Vice President after all. You're supposed to wear a jacket and tie for an interview like that. Also, coming up on Friday, Donald Trump Jr. is on the show. And you'll be able to hear it live on Rumble at 10 o'clock. And thank you to, again, everybody who's joining me now. I'm going to keep the chat up so I can take a look at what everybody's saying here and join you on this journey. Okay, let me start with some of the big news items. And yes, we do have some news about Dan.